Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Alrighty. Today we're gonna go over the Scion TC. I just put the transmission in, I was driving it, but then went to car meet, drove for a whole week, and then I was realized that there was like little drippage in my driveway. And when I actually checked, I realized that my transmission was leaking transmission fluid. So I remembered that I did not replace the seals, the rim and seals for the transmission nor the engine when I took the transmission apart. So in this video, I'm gonna show you a step-by-step process of how to go ahead and replace this seal if you have this issue. It's the same thing of just removing the transmission. It's just that once you remove the transmission, you gotta remove the torque converter and get in there to remove that seal. And then if you're replacing the rear main seal for the engine, you gotta remove the flywheel to get to that. So I'm gonna show you how to do that, and I'm gonna go by step. So follow as we go about doing this. So this way, if you want to actually go ahead and replace the transmission, it's the same steps you have to take to replace the transmission. It's the same thing, removing the transmission and then go ahead and replace these things. So let's get into the video. You can see right there, it's going to be the rear main seal. See, it's on the sides. So today, we are going to go ahead and see, that's not good. That's not good at all. So we can go ahead and you can see where it's like going underneath the car all the way down, and it's not a good thing. So we are gonna go ahead and replace the main seal behind the transmission, and let me show you how to get that done. First, you're going to need to remove the battery. Then you're gonna go ahead and remove the intake. Mine is a little bit different because I have the cold air intake installed. Then I would suggest put a rag or a piece of cloth into the intake so that this way no debris gets in there. The battery tray, you're going to need to remove the wire harness that's connected to it, so this way it's easier to maneuver. It's a little, finicky, but once you get it out, you can work in that area very easy. So just remove it just like that. You should be good to go. Now you have access to the starter motor. Just go ahead and start removing it. Now you have removed all the bolts, go ahead and remove the starter motor. In this back section behind the transmission, there's going to be the shifter cable. You're just going to need to be able to get to that first. I believe it was a 12 or 13. So once you get back there, remove the shifter cable off the transmission, so this way it's not going to be on there when you go to remove it. Next step, I remove the battery tray. Battery tray is completely removed. Now we're gonna go ahead and put these lines to the side. So now to remove that wire from the bracket that was here, you just have to basically put it like that to remove the bracket. Remove the connector, and you're good to go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the ground. Now that the ground is removed, it's right here. Just be careful with this clip right here, because when I removed it, I accidentally broke it. So just be aware. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and remove the axle nut, and then remove the 2 nuts and bolts that's on the spindle that's connected to the shock. Now you can start to remove the bolts for the engine mount that's in front of the engine. You're going to need to remove this bracket next to the transmission. And also, you're going to need to remove the support bar right here where the transmission motor mount is mounted onto. There's 2 bolts in this section that you're going to need to remove.
As you can see where the engine mount is, you can remove the 2 bolts from the bottom of the engine mount to lower it. Alright, so let's do that. These are bolts that came out. And now, see, the bracket is no longer there, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's gonna be out of the way, and then this part here is gone.
Alright, let me freeze here for a second. There's 2 bolts that's holding the passenger side axle link. You just gotta basically go ahead and remove those 2 bolts before you remove the axle. And make sure you have a pan underneath the vehicle to catch any oil that's trying to escape. And to make it more easier to remove the axle, you're going to need to remove the bolts that connects the brake hoses and the ABS wires. And right here, what I did was I have a few extensions with a punch on the front of it so that this way I could punch the axle out from the other side. Just like that. See that? Money. Now you can start with removing all the bolts from the top side of the transmission. Now before you remove the bolts for the transmission side mount, make sure you have a jack underneath it. Right here, I'm rotating the engine, and you always want to rotate the engine clockwise. And what I'm doing right here is removing the bolts from the torque converter and the flywheel. For leverage, you're going to need to have the setup I have right here. One socket on the crankshaft or crank pulley to hold it in place while you remove the bolt on the flywheel. You have to repeat this for all the bolts. Now that all the bolts are removed, you should be able to turn the flywheel by itself, just like this. Here you're going to need to get to the bolt at the back here for the rear engine mount. And the 4 bolts that's on the bottom. Then you can remove the mount. Voila! In case of any difficulties, you might have to remove the remaining portion of the mount, but now you can start working on the bottom side bolts for the transmission.
I'm gonna remove this one, that one, this, and that. And there should be all the bolts on the bottom. Once you remove those 4 bolts, then you can start working on the top. So let's go ahead and move.
So right here, I'm removing the bolts, and you notice that there's no support at the bottom, and that is because I still have the engine mount or the transmission mount on the passenger side still in, and it's just floating freely with 2 bolts at the top. So I'm just removing the bolts at the bottom now, and there's gonna be 2 bolts I have remaining at the top that's just holding it in to support it while I'm trying to remove the bottom ones.
Come around and you remove this one
I don't have a engine hoist to hold the engine, so right here I'm actually using the OEM engine jack to hold the engine while I remove the transmission.
This way, the engine is going to be supported by its.
Now you can go ahead and remove the transmission after you remove the upper mount and the 2 bolts.
Oh, is that better than before?
And make sure you have an extra hand so that this way they could help you with the jack as you're lowering, to help you lower the transmission as you support
Slow
it.
down slowly. Move them knees. Move them knees.
In this case, I have my wife that's helping me to support to operate the jack, so this way she could lower the jack while I maneuver the transmission down. But this is not an easy task to do by yourself. Always have a second hand to support you with the jack while you go around and slide the transmission down. You do not want this to drop.
Hold it.
Hold.
Sometimes you just gotta make it work with what you got.
What do you mean push up? Oh, press it.
There we go.
Is it out?
Yeah.
I can pull out.
Press it down.
Put it, loosen it.
Yeah, that's fine. Alright, wait, too fast. Down.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm going slow. I tightened it.
Go forward. You.
Okay. Good.
You.
Keep.
Alright, okay. Now. Okay. And might just do it right there. That's it.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Be ready with some towels or rags or whatever you might have, because this is a messy job. Oil is going to get everywhere and there's no stopping it.
This part here is from Advanced Auto, and you're saying that it's for transmission, for manual transmission. So you got it anyway. Just the part number right there, as you can see. And let's see if this part is the same. Is it? Looks like it. You can see it. It's the exact fit. Yep. All right. Because they were saying that this seal is only for the manual transmission. So I was like, well, it should be no big difference. It's just differences. It's just a clutch and the engine is the same. So I don't think it will be a big difference. And as of now, there's no difference. Let's see if it would actually fit around this. And it does. Okay, it fits. Now you can see, you know, most seals has a ring, they call it a spring ring or a spring band around it. And you can tell, look, the spring band goes on and that's how it sits in there. And you can tell that's a perfect seal as well. So this seal here that they sell, and even though it says it was for a manual transmission, it's gonna fit the automatic transmission as well. So go ahead and go to Advanced Auto. That's the part number right there. And this is how they shipped it to the parts store, and this is how I got it. And yeah, so this seal is the correct one. It fits. Now to make sure it's perfect, now I gotta remove this old one and make sure that it actually seats properly in there. So let me get my tool, let me remove that. So right here I have my handy tool to remove the seals. So you basically gonna go in just like so, hook us out of it. And there it is. The seal is out. You could tell it's really hard. It's not that great. So this one is more softer. So now I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna put this one in there. So say for instance you go to the store, you wanna make sure you have the right one. You can always go ahead and just, and you can use this too, you know, and just go ahead and just put like an extension on the side of it, and just hammer down that back to sides, you know, just to get it back flat, so that this way you could actually go to the store and measure the right seal. Make sure you get the right seal. Or say for instance you want to use an aftermarket one, it'll be easier for you to go ahead and find a universal seal and match it up. So you could always use one of this, an Allen key, right? Use an Allen key, and you could just go in between the seal and the transmission and like pull it out. It's already out. I'm not gonna really go in there and put it in and try to take it out, but yeah, same principle. You can use an Allen key and go in there, put to the side, and pluck the seal out if you really wanted to get the seal out and you don't have a tool. So this is a little axe, so you can use that to actually remove the seal if you don't have the seal puller. All right, so I hope this helped, and let's put the seal back in. A lubricant, but I like to use a silicone spray. So basically what I'll do is I'll spray inside of it. And I'm noticing that right here, there's a little damage right here and there. So I'm also gonna use a foil paper and fill that edge. Bring the edge down. There we go. Because anytime there's an edge, the damage is seal as you're putting it in. There we go. Boom. Push down with some brake tool. Spray it back. I don't have much left, but make it work. We'll put the seal in. Gotta make sure it's nice and flush. You know. Just a little bit. Okay. Now, the back of this, because I don't have the tool to make it flush, so I'm gonna go 1 tap, 2 tap, and I'm just going around it. Making sure that sits in there. There we go. There we go. Nice. Gotta make sure it sits in there nice and tight. And you want to make sure that it's even right around. When it's even right around, that means you're good. I put a little bit of too much pressure here, so it indents a little bit, but it's not that crazy. But I don't know. Make sure. Oop, do it again. I don't know, I keep doing it on that side. But yeah. Alright. I like this. I like how it feels. Just feel it. Make sure that's nice and even. There's no part that's lower than the other side. Make sure it's nice and even right around. And that's that. And that is in. And that's not going anywhere.
Now you can go ahead and remove the flywheel. But what I'm doing here is basically bringing this blue mark to where I have this bolt in at the starter, so that this way I can make a mark right across, and whenever time I go ahead and put it back in, I know exactly where it's supposed to be. Because sometimes these flywheels might have indicators, or it has to be in a specific position, so that this way when your car is started, it's actually in a correct position for like the crank sensor. Even though this seal has no damage and there's nothing wrong with it, I'm still gonna replace it because that's what I did with the transmission. I did not replace the one on this transmission and then it ended up leaking. You just never know. Just like how the transmission seal leaked, I don't want to put the transmission back on and then 2 miles down the road the engine start leaking. So it just makes best to go ahead and replace both of them. Now we're going to do the same procedure for the rear main seal, and now we're going to basically go ahead and clean it down, but I'm going to put the old one back in, so this way when I'm cleaning it, no debris gets inside. I'm going to go ahead and actually install the new one. Same procedure for both these seals between the transmission and the engine. Spraying my silicone spray.
So I was able to manage to put the new seal in. Everything looks good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and reassemble the whole entire car. See, seal is in, so that's good. And now it's time to reassemble.
Alright, so as you're going through this video and you see every step, I hope this video helped. I hope this video explained to you the best way of actually going ahead and replace this transmission. And that's it. So I hope you enjoy, and stay tuned for next videos coming up. So see you in the next one. Peace.